I'm Ryan Sedlacek.
I'm Caleb Ford.
I'm Eleanor Meinhold.
I'm Hunter Brown.
And I'm Jason Fogelsonger. The grand challenge that we are aiming to tackle is managing the nitrogen cycle. We thought an effective way to address this challenge is to improve efforts working to limit runoff from rural farms, specifically from fertilizers and from their farming practices. In this community of rural farmers, there are many that are facing economic struggles and are unable to risk any changes that can potentially make their situation worse. As a result, they can't make their farming practices more sustainable and better for the environment. That can lead to other environmental effects in their areas, like algal blooms in their drinking water. They need this solution so they can be better for themselves, the environment, and the grand challenge as a whole.
Our solution is to recommend best management practices and create educational resources, class, website, and pamphlets to help these underserved communities, which we are identifying as counties with a median income of less than 10% of their surrounding state that also rely on agriculture as their main source of income. We chose this solution over pushing precision agricultural initiatives like AI and drone use because of their costs in these underserved communities. And this pushes these communities to use more of what they have and the skills to make their impact less. Some of these education initiatives that we're offering are education on composting, tilling practices, which will overall reduce the nitrogen runoff in these communities. And this information will all be available in the form of pamphlets and a website. And the educational level of these classes are all around 9th grade. The funding for these programs would come from a tax on non-organic fertilizers, which would be about 8 to 9%, and a fine for farmers using fertilizers and equipment that would end up increasing nitrogen runoff in a certain area. And then there can also be grants that individuals can apply for to help them fund the use of non-harmful fertilizers and efficient farming equipment, and eventually things like those AI applications and drone use.
So for our main visual for our grand challenge management practices is we have a website that both provides education and a way for these counties to apply for the program. So on the main page here, it's just a little bit of an introduction about what the U.S. Best Agricultural Practices and Education Program is about, as well as 4 distinct areas that they can learn about. One is just a little education on the nitrogen cycle to then raise awareness about the actual grand challenge, because most areas will be hesitant to actually accept any help. They don't understand what we're trying to do. We just approach an area and just say, hey, let us come in and bring all these new ideas in without actually explaining what they're doing. It's going to be a problem. So first we have the nitrogen cycle, which again, core issue, little diagram. We also have more information on our education, which is divided into 2 parts, a professional help section and an educational infrastructure section. As mentioned before, the infrastructure section is doing things such as bringing up best tilling practices and composting education. But we also would like to provide professional help, which will be basically a network of professional farmers and agricultural experts that can be connected and provide resources and education to each other to kind of create a self-sustaining program. We also have education on our grants and how it can be used for either approved fertilizers or approved farming equipment, which again, we would need to go more in depth with if we had more time to develop this program. And then finally, we have something that we'd like to call the area inspection application. So in order to actually be considered for the grants and education, that this application must be completed, and then the theoretical government program would review it. And if they accept and approve it, then we would move into the actual county and rural area and move from there. It's a very bare bones application right now. It's just a Google form as more of a representation. It's just things such as state and county, the person submitting the form, contact, and then just a couple of brief questions like your main economic output, the population to the nearest 1,000th person, and the estimation of county median income if it is known to the person. And then finally, on our website, we just have image citations for everything used. And on top of the website, we also have a brochure.
We basically took the main contents of the website and applied it to a brochure so people who don't have good internet access can still learn about our program and what we do, as well as planning to do a phone form for people who can't access the internet And if there was like more steps or more additional funding and time, we probably would plan to do a mail-in form. So people who can't access phones or online access can still apply for the program just by sending in a mail-in form.
The biggest challenges that our solution faces are the technological barriers of these rural areas, securing proper government funding, and gaining the trust of farmers. With more time, we would look into doing a more in-depth cost analysis to see if our plan would supply the proper funding for our proposed programs. We would also like to take a deeper dive into the educational aspect of our solution and find the best ways to implement them into these rural areas. We would also like to increase our use of the USBAPE program and make a better, more well-rounded, and easier to access website and a higher quality perfected pamphlet design.